Hello, so this is a quick overview of the coursework for comp5000 for this year. So essentially the idea is we'll look at it in more detail. So Walmart is a big grocery store in the US, and they're interested in using machine learning to predict sales. As a kind of pilot study, they have some stores, they have some data on store size and how much sales and the unemployment rate and the markdown on the prices. And we're not going to do any of the machine learning. What we're just going to do is take the comma separator value files, convert them into a database, and write a simple GUI to extract information from them. So there's 4 CSV files. You should download these from the DLE, and there's various information. There's a bit more information when you click on the links about what the various headers means. And there's also things like holidays that's defined. I've uploaded the CSV files to the DLE, so you should use the files uploaded there. So the idea is, because it's a computing module, we're not going to do any too much statistics or data science. What we're mostly going to do is design a database from the CSV files, which will give you a sort of hint of what the tables are, and then you're going to write some code to convert the CSV files into to load them into an SQL-like database or a database of your choice, and then once you have the files in the database, you can write a Python script, and it just gives some examples of some analysis. So like if you want to update the manager of a specific store, so you write a GUI interface to do that, and also want to make sure when you input the email address, you check that the address is the right format. Then the other thing the GUI should do will be to do some simple statistical analysis, like calculate the mean store size and draw the sales data for a specific store and department with time. And to show all these things are working, you should just provide workshops. And the last thing that I want you to do is so at the moment we're writing databases into this SQL-like file, but it could be that typically when you run these applications, they run on a cloud services. We've not discussed that. This will be discussed in the last lecture. But the last thing is just to write a little 2-page report on how you run it on Amazon Web Services or another cloud provider, just to make it a bit more professional. You don't have to code this bit up, but you just have to put out some ideas like the cost and things like that. Okay. So here's just an overview. So everything which has been done in the course should have been gearing up to do this. So here's what I say. So the idea is just taking some data, say from Walmart, that has various factors. So you're asked to design a database. So the first thing I would do is to look at the CSV file. So this is one of them. This is features_data.cov, and you can see there's the store number, date, temperature, fuel price, and this will give you an initial idea of what the tables initially will be. And then, as we discussed, there's some design process that you can go through to actually design the database. So looking at the CSV files will give you some ideas what the initial tables are, and then you have to do some design work, say, to do the normalization to make sure that the final tables are in the 3n form. So the CSV files will give you an idea of what the initial table structure is. Then you do some design work to normalize it. Then you want to do some load in the CSV files, clean them up a little bit, and populate the database. So this is what I suggest you do. The first step is to look at the CSV files and say, look at the column headings, that's the key thing. And this will give you some ideas of the entities and give you a first draft. And then you need to do things like select which columns are the primary keys and foreign keys, and deal with the normalization issues. So we discussed lecture 5 on entity relationship diagrams, and we also in lecture 3 discussed relationship between entities, many to one and one to many. There's also a podcast on drawing entity relationship diagrams, and in lecture 7 we discussed the important issues of normalization of databases, because in the coursework I ask you to normalize it to the 3NF form. Okay, so that gives you the design document to give you an entity relationship diagram. Once you've designed the database, you then have to load in the CSV files and convert the data to put it into the new format of tables, and so this will require a little work on using pandas. You'll also find some of the data might need cleaning up, and there might be missing entries, so we've discussed that a little bit. But that's the basic idea. You have a design of the database, you load in the CSV files, you clean up the data, and then you write the tables in the SQLite format. And in lecture 8, we discussed cleaning up of data using pandas, and there are some examples in this section here. And then in lecture 9, we also discussed converting pandas data frames into a table in an SQLite data file. And then the final coding bit, so you'll have the CSV files, converted them into an SQLite database, and then the final bit is just to do like an example of a GUI. We're not doing full functionality, we're just showing that you can do various things. And in lecture 5, we went over the GUIs to work with data. There was some examples of pressing a button and producing a plot, and you can use a similar kind of code for this coursework. And also in question 2 of the labs in week 6, this link here, there's an example of using Python to send an SQL command to a database. And there's also this podcast here, this PDF document will be available as well. There's also a podcast on inserting data into an SQLite database. Okay, so that's just a point as a hint. So everything in the coursework should have been covered by all the lectures and the lab works. So the idea is really the final coursework should be combining solutions seen in the lectures or in the coursework to solve this problem.